For more now, I'm joined by California Republican Congressman Kevin Kiley. Thank you so much, Congressman, for joining us tonight on Prime. We have a lot to cover tonight, but let's start with the protests playing out across the country today against ICE. Do you think ICE has been too aggressive with its tactics? You know, you've seen these videos, you've seen people protesting, demanding change. You just heard from that one woman in Matt Rivers' piece. What are your thoughts? Do you think ICE agents have been too aggressive?
Well, clearly what we don't want is to see these terrible tragedies continue that we've seen on at least 2 occasions now. And so I think that, you know, as soon as this latest one happened, I came out and said, we need to find ways to bring the temperature down. And I think that actually you have seen some encouraging signs over the course of the last several days. You know, we're going to avoid a prolonged government shutdown, it looks like, and we're going to have now 2 weeks to discuss, okay, what is the right way forward to focus ICE's mission on what I think most people believe ought to be the top priority, which is making sure that individuals who are here illegally and have a criminal record and pose a risk to public safety aren't threatening the safety of Americans. And so I think that we actually had a couple of good reforms that were in the original version of the Department of Homeland Security bill. There are folks on both sides who say maybe it makes sense to you know, expand on things like body cameras and training and that sort of thing. And on the other side, I think we do need to address this issue of jurisdictions that have people in custody who have committed crimes and then release them into the community rather than having an orderly transfer of custody to the authorities. So I think those are the 2 main things we're going to be working on over the next couple weeks.
And on that same note of bringing the temperature down, what in this moment needs to be done to dial the tensions down? What can be done?
Well, I think that those 2 things are a good start. Now, number one, for people who believe that we need more training, that we need body cams, we need more accountability and focus, we're going to be having conversations about the next couple weeks. We're also having an oversight hearing in the Homeland Security Committee. We're going to have the head of all the different immigration agencies who are going to come in, and folks on both sides of the aisle can ask questions. And then the other point that I mentioned is that it is an inherently riskier endeavor when you have enforcement operations that have to take place in the community. So jurisdictions within places like Minnesota and California that refuse to hand over custody of folks who have criminal records, I think that's a very damaging thing, and it's part of the problem. And I'm glad to see that maybe there's some headway being made there in Minneapolis, that we'll have more agreements, we'll have more cooperation in handing folks over in a custodial setting. And then Tom Holman said in return for that, then there won't be as much of a need for ICE to have a presence there.
Hopefully there is some peace there. Clearly, we've seen things escalate the last couple of weeks. We've just seen some video that we aired of protests in Los Angeles there in your state. But I do want to ask you before we go, your thoughts on journalist Don Lemon being arrested. Do you think he should have been arrested?
Well, of course, I don't know all of the facts, and it depends crucially on the facts. I mean, the First Amendment, freedom of the press, is absolutely at the foundation of who we are as a country. Our founders believed this was the lifeblood of a functioning democracy and democratic self-government. Personally, I introduced the bill, the Press Act, to protect freedom of the press, that passed the House of Representatives unanimously. And so that is something that is sacrosanct. On the other hand, if you're someone who's engaging in some sort of criminal conduct, the First Amendment doesn't immunize you from that. So it'll totally depend on the facts, whether they show he was there as a journalist observing, or if he was somehow a part of the violation of federal law that's being alleged.
Congressman Kevin Kiley, thank you so much for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.